Hello and welcome to the Sypnotix. I am Alex, and today we are taking a look at a mechanical keyboard that's also wireless from a company called Ajazz or Maker, and this is the AKC087. We got this sent to us from WhatGeek, so thank you so much to WhatGeek for sending us a review unit. No one's going to watch this video before I release it to you guys out there, so everything I say is my opinion and strictly my own thoughts of this unit. So once again, thank you so much to WhatGeek. So right off the bat, taking this out of the box, this was easily the heaviest keyboard I have ever unboxed. It is just like, it was a brick to take out of the box. And it's also one of the coolest mechanical keyboards I've pulled out of a box in a very long time. So let's talk briefly about Maker, the makers of Ajazz, this brand. I'm very familiar with this company. They make an abundance of keyboards that I think are very affordable and offer pretty good value. I was not aware, however, that they did make, I guess you could say, an upper level tier keyboard like this. I do classify this as a higher tier keyboard, and the price actually reflects that. This is about $100 or so, give or take, depending where you get it. At WhatGeek right now, you can get it for $100. So it is kind of like that middle upper tier level here. And like I said, the minute I pulled out this keyboard, I was like, this thing there's a premium feel to it. It's 4.5 pounds. Let me repeat that. It is 4.5 pounds. That is really heavy for a keyboard. In fact, that's actually twice as heavy as most of the mechanical keyboards I have in the studio here that I use on an everyday basis. So that is something I'm not used to. However, the reason this Ajazz is so hefty is because of the casing. It's a steel case that they use in this design, and the design itself is actually very unique. This is something that they market it as, I guess the branding is called 1,000-layer crisp structure design. I don't know what a 1,000-layer crisp actually means, but the easiest analogy, or what it reminded me of, was like a 3-layer cake. If you've ever had a 3-layer cake, that's basically what this keyboard is structured like. That's the layer there. So 1,000 layers is actually 3 layers. And those 3 layers are very simple to actually distinguish because, let's talk technical. The keyboard is still stacked, right? So it's a still stack layer that consists of the top plate. Then they have the bottom plate, and then the PCB layer, which has the position plate that holds it. So those are the layers that are involved in this cake that I call a cake. So the board actually has this elevated compartment also on the back of it that acts as like a way to elevate and angle the keyboard towards the typer or the user here. So that's, at first when I turned this around, I was like, oh, this kind of looks weird. It looks like if you had a smartphone and you slapped a, a magnetic battery pack to the back of it, and it actually serves as an elevator for the keyboard. So there's only one typing angle here, and you cannot adjust it. There's no adjustable feet, there's no adjustable angles. It's one angle only, and it's influenced by that rear part that I was just talking about there. So it's very strange when I first turned it around and looked at it, but the typing angle is actually terrific. This is exactly where I would normally set my typing angle to be. So I'm perfectly fine with this as my typing angle. I do know a lot of people prefer their own typing angle. Some people like typing flat, some people like it pretty high and angled. So if you do like changing your angles to accommodate your typing style, this might not be the keyboard for you. Actually, that back area that I was talking about might actually be where they house the 2,000 milliamp hour battery. So once again, this is a wireless keyboard. That means you do need to charge it through the USB-C port. And that area is actually where they house the port as well. The USB-C port is on the top there. There's also a couple other things there. There's actually 2 toggles. One toggle between Mac and Windows, and the other toggle is for the connection type, because there's 3 ways that this can connect to your computing device. The first one is a 2.4 GHz connection. Second one is a Bluetooth 5.01, and also you can use the USB-C cable to connect it directly to your computer or your laptop. So there are 3 connection ways, and all of them are very simple to use. If you've used any wireless keyboard, it's exactly the same here. Now, the coolest part about that little section there is that there's a little hole. At first, I thought, oh, this is a USB-A port, because we have seen USB-A hubs, I guess, on a keyboard before, so that was kind of cool. But that's not the case here. It looks like it, but it's not. It's actually just a slot so you can put your receiver, the USB receiver, in there when you're not using it. So if you're not using it with that receiver, you can just shove it in there and it actually houses it within the body. So I do appreciate that. It's a little bit magnetic, so it will stay in place. I love that. That's a terrific design choice. So when you first look at this crazy looking unit, something does stick out because it looks somewhat different. This 1,000-layer crisp thing, right? What this means is this unit, actually, you can kind of see through it. It's a very unique thing because not only can you peer through the insides of the board, you can technically actually see through to the other side of the board. So that's really cool. If you kind of look at it through the side, it is really unique, especially with that RGB lights running through inside the unit. It's hypnotizing. It's a hypnotizing view. Having no cables around it also, because it's wireless, makes it such a clean looking setup. The board that I was sent is a colorway called Berries. It's an interesting color name, but on the website it kind of looks black, but it's not black. In person, it's more of like this navy, like dark matted navy blue color, or like you could say maybe a very lightish bluish tint gray. It doesn't look black at all in person. And I do actually really like the contrast with the keycaps because there is a more bluish keycap there. And then there's black and also a hot pink reddish keycap combination. So those three colors mix really well with this steel plate color. I just love the aesthetics here, and I just think this is a beautiful looking board by default. The steel in the top layer that you actually see is powder coated, so it looks kind of matte with a little like shimmer to it, like a little sparkle. If you kind of move your eyes around, you can actually see it's sparkling. So I do like this shimmer that it has. It's a very attractive looking keyboard. The weak point is, without a doubt, the battery life. I charged this about maybe 3-ish days. I wish it would have lasted a little longer. It's not the worst thing in the world, but my routine is I never turn off the RGBs. I never do with any keyboard. And it does have a sleep mode where basically after a certain amount of time, the RGBs don't turn on anymore and it disconnects from your Bluetooth. It does take a second longer than I was hoping to reconnect with your PC after waking. I've definitely used keyboards that reacted and connected much quicker from its wake. But these things are all okay at best, but it's not the worst I've ever used. And obviously, the biggest component to any mechanical keyboard purchase is customizability. The hot swappable aspect is very important to a lot of people who want to design their own. So this board that I was sent is actually a pre-built board. It comes with everything. You can also buy this as a bare bones kit, which is slightly cheaper. If you decide on what I have here, it comes with Ajazz's AS101 yellow switches. I'll talk about that in a second. As with all mechanical keyboards, the board and how it types and the sound and how you feel about the sound, it's all subjective. It's based on a deep personal experience and preference. What I can tell you, though, is that this board is actually pretty quiet to type on. Yes, it still has that mechanical sound, but it's not as pronounced as some gaming keyboards out there. So I can actually use this at an office setting if I really wanted to. It has a bit of a hollow sound, but there isn't much clanking. It's more like a click than a clank. So I like the sound, but it's up to you. Here's how it sounds like, so see if you like it. But one thing that you can't argue against this board is that it is very versatile. Cool thing is that it supports both 3-pin and 5-pin switches. So basically, you can put whatever you want on here and modify this as much as you want to make it what you like. That's the cool thing about this board. You can do so much with it straight off the bat, or even with something like mine, which is already built, you can just modify half of the board if you want with your own keys. As a 10 keyless board though, this is a very standard board. Like there's no deviation from that 87 key layout with the arrow keys and the home cluster spaced like basically perfectly between the distance of the main board and that section. I don't make any mistakes on this board. I'm actually very clean typing on this. I don't have any problems. It was very easy for me to transition to this board because the layout is exactly a vanilla 87 10 keyless layout. So I love it. I think it's a very easy board to transition to for anybody out there. Finally, let's talk about the RGB because it's fantastic on this keyboard. Like, sure, it's just a very standard amount of light colors, RGB colors. And I think there's 18 different types of effect cycles. So it's not like anything too crazy. But the cool thing about this board's RGB is that, well, first off, it's that whole, the cake layer, I call it the cake layer, right? So you can see through the board. So the light does come out. I have translucent boards in their casing that you can see the light through, but this is different because it's open. So that's really cool seeing the light go basically from one side to another or through. Another cool thing that I found out this thing has is that it has south-facing LED switches. So what that means is that the LED switch is on the bottom side of the switch and not the top side. So basically that fills in the gap between the keys really well. It makes the light illuminate like a stream through. And I think that actually accents this kind of design really well because it is open on all sides. The keycaps are also, I mentioned this earlier, but I do like the keycaps and their contrast, but I do like the white font. It's a very clean, very nice white font. Even though the RGB lights don't actually like seep through the letterings because it's a solid color here, the white contrast of the font over the dark keycaps makes it really stand out. Like I didn't have any problems typing at nighttime looking at this. I didn't really struggle to see the cap. So I do think this is a terrific layout and terrific RGB setup here. At the end of the day, I really do like this Ajazz AKC087. I think this is a beautiful looking keyboard. And that says a lot because I am a clean freak and it is an open design and I have two heavily shedding dogs who just pollute my desktop with hair. So when I still keep this keyboard on my desk and I don't mind actually bringing out my air duster and cleaning it out every single day, that means I actually like the board a lot. And that's what I've been doing for the past couple of weeks because I think it's a beautiful looking board. It performs really well. It looks great. I just think this is great. Once again, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. It helps the channel a lot. I'm Alex and I'll see you guys in the next video. The other day, my house was leaking, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do about this. I'm a tech guy. I only know tech, so how do I fix that? And then you subscribed, and it fixed it, so thank you.